Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Thought I'd bring you a quick article here from Zero Hedge. Global food prices rise as famine threats emerges. And to tell you the truth, this is nothing new really. I mean, only because we don't see it in our front windows or in our front yards, it doesn't mean it's not happening. But the takeaway from this, ladies and gentlemen, is that only because we don't see it en masse here where we live or where you live, doesn't mean that if it's happening somewhere else, it will not affect you. It certainly will. For example, China is buying a lot of grains. They've bought historic amount of grains from the US this year, and they've got orders in to purchase even more. Why is that? Because China's crops, for the majority, have failed this year due to their floods that they've been having and droughts as well. Not only that, they also got hit by locusts this year. But the majority of the crops that they've lost is due to flooding. So they're going to start importing en masse like they've been doing so for the last several months, and they will continue to do so. My only worry is this. What will China result to once the rest of the world wakes up to what's going on with our weather and our crops and stops exporting to them? What will they do once they cannot get food from other countries to fill their needs back at home? And the article reads, food prices continue rising during this health crisis, jeopardizing food security for tens of millions worldwide. On Thursday, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, of the United Nations said world food prices rose for the fourth consecutive month in September, led by surging prices for cereals and vegetable oils, reported Reuters. FAO's Food Price Index, which tracks the international prices of the top traded food commodities, which are cereals, oilseeds, dairy products, meat, and sugar, averaged 97.9 in September versus a downwardly revised 95.9 in August. So it went up 2 full points, 2 full percentage points in 1 month, ladies and gentlemen. That may not sound like a lot, but that really is a lot. FAO's cereal index jumped 5.1% in September and is 13.6% above its value 1 year earlier. So that is a 13.6% increase in 1 year. That is incredible. And it says here, high wheat price quotations led the increase, spurred by the risk trade activity amid concerns over production prospects in the southern hemisphere, as well as dry conditions affecting winter wheat sowings around Europe. Vegetable oil price soared 6% in September over August prices due to rising palm, sunflower seeds, and soy oil prices hitting 8-month highs. Dairy prices barely budged over the month, with moderate price increases for butter, cheese, and skim milk powder, offset by a decline in whole milk powder. Sugar prices declined. I was pretty surprised at this part, ladies and gentlemen. Sugar prices declined 2.6% over the month, mainly because of a global glut expected to persist through the 2021 season. I was very surprised at this part showing that sugar prices declined because we lost so much sugar production here early this year because of frost, meaning that a lot of the sugar beets that were being harvested early this year were too far gone due to frost to be able to process into sugar. I believe it was about 35% of the harvest that was lost, not only here in the US, but in Canada as well. So that's very surprising, which in a way, it's good news, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever thought about putting away a good amount of sugar for hard times? Not only is it a great morale booster, not only is it good for baking, but it's a great barter item as well. Ask anyone that is still alive from the Great Depression as to how valuable sugar was during that time. Meat prices slipped 0.9% on the month and were 9.4% year over year, meaning that even though meat prices went down almost 1% on the month, they're still almost 10% up over what they were last year at this time. With prices for pork slumping due to China's ban on pork imports from Germany after several cases of the swine fever were recently found. As outlined by the World Bank in September, rising food costs because of this health crisis have significant impacts on vulnerable households, many of which are being crushed into poverty and hunger. I've heard, ladies and gentlemen, and I've read in the past that once a population has to pay at least 40% of their income towards their sustenance, towards their food, that there starts to be revolts. So that's something to keep in mind. In August, UN World Program Director David Beasley warned that $5 billion in emergency funds are needed within 6 months to avert a global famine. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres recently said the world is experiencing one of the worst food crises in 5 decades. This health crisis related downturn is driving wealth inequality to extremes and pushing millions of people into extreme poverty. Here are the highest at-risk areas for food crisis breakouts. And you can see here this dotted map. It's got red and orange. Those are the highest areas impacted. But like what I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, if these places don't have enough food to feed themselves, then what are they going to turn to? They're going to turn to importing from other nations. And what does that do? It puts pressure on the supply that that nation had to begin with, because they're importing foods now, making the food that they have left over more expensive for people to buy. It's just a simple supply and demand math problem, I guess you can call it. Food insecurity risks produced by soaring prices and disrupted supply chains because of this health crisis are not limited to the U.S. A top food bank in the United States recently warned of a nationwide meal shortage in the next 12 months. And that's one of the previous videos that I did for you guys, where I read that article saying that by June of 2021, that we were going to have a deficit of 6 to 8 billion meals distributed by food banks, meaning that there were going to be 6 to 8 billion meals short than what they were actually going to need in order to feed people that needed the assistance. Throughout history, food price volatility and disruptions have often resulted in social unrest. An unintended consequence of the global downturn could be a continuation of the social unrest seen across the world. So I know this is not good news, ladies and gentlemen. I keep putting these out so that you guys can be encouraged by what you're hearing and or hopefully listening to continue to prepare. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the only way we're going to get through the crisis that's coming as far as food shortages go, because I am convinced that we will be having a food shortage crisis within the next few years. We still have some time to prepare, and I kept saying that. This is not something to scare you into going out there and buying a whole bunch of food. This is just something to inform you. This is meant to inform you so that you can seriously consider putting away some long-term food storage, that if you don't want to be an active prepper, you don't have to. You can just put away so many calories that will last for years. That way, if you ever need it, it'll be there for you and your family. Having said that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in. I appreciate you guys spending a little bit of your time with me today. Remember, tomorrow at 12 noon Alaska time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be doing a live stream. Honestly, I don't know what we're going to talk about yet, but there's so many things to talk about that I'm not worried about finding a good subject that we can talk about for an hour or so and just hang out. So hopefully I'll see you then. Having said that, I hope you guys have a great day today and have a good weekend at that. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to every one of you and your families. This is Alaska Prepper, and I'm out.